Good morning, everyone. It's the 1st of December, and Mike will be joining us. I'm not sure if he's online yet, but he'll be joining us if he does remotely via an airport. He is en route. I'm not sure if he's coming or going. We all know what Mike's travel schedule is like. It's a hefty pace, but he will be joining us. Hopefully, if he gets through customs in time.
I'm here.
You're here. Oh, fantastic, Mike. I did a flick through and I couldn't see if you were there. There you are. There you are.
Hey, just a little celebrity news here.
Yeah.
Outside is Jerry Seinfeld. He just boarded his private jet.
Oh, that's cool.
I told you, Mike.
Yeah.
Everybody, well, part of who we lost last night. They went to Seinfeld instead of coming to see Mike DiMucchio.
We'll just have to raise your rock star status up a little bit.
Obviously, as Michael's promoter.
Our venue was empty and his was full.
I think do something.
Yeah. That's a tough act to compete with. That's for sure. So, we're really pleased to have everyone together today. I think it's I think what's been interesting and exciting over these last couple of weeks, or maybe even the last month, really, this has been the all the chat and WhatsApp and all of the recognition and celebration that's taking place online and Facebook. I think hopefully a lot of people out there are doing the sharing of this, even if it's not in your teams, because it gets the word out to the world that things are moving. You know, it's always great to see rank advancements. When you have a ton of rank advancements coming through, like we've been seeing, whether it's your team or not, it's good to spread the word, because that might just assist someone in their future recruitment activities when they might just see someone coming across these pages and going, oh, I can see stuff's going on there. It's good to let people see the good news. But it'd be interesting to know your thoughts, your feelings, as you've seen all of this chat with new silvers, golds, platinums, diamonds, royal diamonds. You know, we've got markets getting their first highest ranking kind of advancements taking place this month. I chatted to Jeff last night, Jeff Isom. He said Mexico has just had the second best month ever since its inception in this past month. Huge results. And I'm pleased to say sales are up again, getting some feedback from Jeff in Europe right now as well, with some of the activity that's starting to take root here at long last. But I think what I've learned in this process is, you know, what we do here, we often hear about this all-out massive action. And I think that works well in the new market, hysteria marketing kind of phase of its existence. In a mature market, all-out massive action looks somewhat different, doesn't it? And I think the approach really is persistent, consistent application of the right activities. I guess I'm just using my own personal recent experience, and I would invite, of course, people on the call today to unmute and share your personal experiences as well, because this is a collaborative conversation that we're having right now. There are lots of people having similar experiences. But you know, I'm also perhaps a newbie in the field compared to others. So what I'm learning here is perhaps stuff that others have already learned and experienced multiple times. But what I saw is, you know, I said to these guys in the London group, because I started where the activity was just really kind of, that's where it was. I live, a lot of people, when I lived in California and we moved back to England, everyone said, we wish you all the best and you move back to London. London isn't England. it's a city. Everyone thought that's where we were living, because that's, you know, the country, you know, we were going back to the UK. I live about 2 hours south of the Scottish border. So when I say we're having meetings down in London, it's quite a trek. It's a little country compared to Canada and the USA. But if you get on our motorways, it won't feel like it when you're traveling at 2 miles an hour stuck in traffic jams. It takes a long time. But I was doing that really in part just to help them understand that we do what it takes to get to the meetings. Veronica was one of our guest speakers yesterday, and she gave some sound advice. When she was getting going, she met with Gloria Nava, who was kind of the first royal diamond in Mexico. And she said, if I can just get one piece of advice from you, please, will you give me some advice? And Gloria Nava said to Veronica, go to all the meetings, go to everything. And I think that's good counsel, because she's going to learn now from everywhere, isn't she? And so she started doing that. And Veronica said, I hope Veronica doesn't mind me sharing her experiences here, but I just loved what she said. She said she attended the meetings, and in the meetings, everyone was up and dancing, and she was really not comfortable with all of that. That wasn't her style. And not everyone is like that, are they? And so she said she was kind of the quiet person at the corner, at the back of the room, not really participating. And she said, and Gloria came over to her after a while and said, you don't enjoy this, do you? And she said, no. And what do you think Gloria Nava said to Veronica in that moment? She said, then host your own meetings. Do your own. And Veronica said, I can do that. And that's what she started to do. And then over time, of course, it built up, and kind of look at her now. She's just absolutely flying. And so I think it's important that we do the right things consistently, that we are persistent in doing it. I do firmly believe that it does pay off if we are persistent. But what is really important is that as we are doing these things persistently over time, we've got to take time to step back and look at what we're doing. Are we doing it right? Practice doesn't make perfect if you're practicing badly. Yeah, perfect practice makes perfect. Yes, so it's really important that if we are holding the meetings, if we are setting goals, if we are inviting, if we are doing the ABCs, if we're doing the in-homes, and there really shouldn't be an if there, because these are essentials to our business success. When we are doing these things, we need to take a step back to evaluate, am I doing it effectively? What can I do differently in order to get different results? We don't want to keep on doing the same thing and just hope for something different. If we know we're doing the right things, then we can do it persistently and expect an improved result. Yeah, like going to the gym. You keep on working out and you expect your muscles to grow over time. But if I'm bending over and hunching as I'm lifting my weights, and I do that repeatedly over time, I'm going to give myself a bad back and some pain and discomfort. So we need to evaluate. Mike, are you going through customs? Are you free to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm good in here. I'm just surrounded by a bunch of people who will be eavesdropping on our conversation, but that's all right. Yeah. I think it's really important that we measure. One of the things that I've been doing is I've been touring and traveling and paying attention to the results, especially when a month like this month just happened, and you see the drive that is taking place for people to achieve ranks and break through ranks. How important that is for everyone's business. It's not just for the individual, which I'm sure there's, as I've been through it, there's tremendous gratification in that. But there's so much inspiration that happens as a result of that. People are inspired to see that. It's kind of like standing in a line. If you're at a shopping mall or a grocery store and you're standing in a line and you don't see movement in that line, you start to get a little bit antsy. That's why they have magazines and magazine racks at the cash registers. It's for that reason. People don't want to get too impatient, so they sort of eyeball the magazine titles and so forth. But if that line doesn't move, then people start looking forward and wondering what's going on, what's holding this thing up. That growing impatience then permeates the space, and it's and it's similar to the business. If there's not progression being made, then that starts to set in that energy, and that of course permeates the space and affects our ability to attract. One of the things that these rank advancements are doing for all of us is inspiring us. In fact, I've been inspired to the point where I broke my 3rd silver. That's Paragon, by the way, in 2 months, going for one more for the Team Kaizen. But if I didn't make the decision to do that, it wouldn't have happened, because I was driving it. It was literally me driving it, and still is. So you have to be an active participant in the decision that's being made to move forward. I know when I met with Susana Hernandez in Panama, and I mean, this was just the beginning of November, and she was a long ways away from Royal Diamond, but she was convincing me and everyone around her that she was getting Royal Diamond done this past month, November. And it was brilliant, because she was doing what the mind needs to do, the engagement, the emotions, the commitment, she was putting it all on the line, and right up to the last minute got it done, because that was the commitment. And so I think that's a great and important lesson that needs to be reiterated. So what I'd like to suggest is that each of you take stock of this past year. I don't know if you still have the numbers available to you. You probably do. But why don't you take a look at the numbers that we measure in Nikken: our organizational volume, our personal volume, our group volume, and our personal recruiting numbers. You could probably get snapshots of that in my office, in my Nikken. Go ahead and do that, and maybe even compare it to earlier numbers if you have such numbers. But to give yourself a metric, see yourself in terms of performance, because it's one thing for us to feel good about what we're doing. But if we don't put numbers on the scoreboard, if the line doesn't move, then we're deluding ourselves. We're the person reading the magazine rack and is happy to live vicariously through the cover story of somebody else's life. That's just not what we're here for. We're here to put Nikken on the map in a bigger and brighter way than ever before. And that takes a dedication, a commitment, and going beyond our comfort zone, which means setting goals, setting real goals and going after them like your life depended on them. That's when the inspiration comes. That's when the attractive field, when we attract people, comes from. It comes from you putting yourself in a position. And I think that's really important that we make that commitment for each and every one of us.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I'll tell you what, one thing that I really noticed in the language that took place at the meeting last night with those that were rank advancing was the shift from a focus on 500 PV on a monthly basis to a shift to thousands of points in order to rank advance. You know, a shift to recruiting the right numbers of people and getting them started. The focus was really on wellness homes. We've been giving trainings on water and on sleep systems over the last few months in our meetings. They've been driving that into the field, into their teams, and recruiting people with that focus of selling these products, getting started with these products straight away, because their focus was on building a proper business and starting strong. And they also could see, if we keep doing this, these rank advancements and these rewards are in place for us. And we use this kind of this term of momentum. I almost saw a dominoes effect, where everyone just kind of ends up lining up in a row as a consequence. And then it was just a ripple effect, and it rippled down the tree and it rippled up the tree in regards to energy and excitement, and also commitment and recommitment regarding rank advancements and business behavior and business change. So yeah, to that point, I would invite everyone on the call today as well to take some time out, especially as we're planning for 2018. And I hope each of us are doing that, making personal plans for next year. The key measures have to be, how many people am I recruiting? What does my PGV look like? If you're wanting to rank advance, if you wanted to get your volume up, it might be that it's got to start with you versus someone else in your organization. It's great if there are people there that we can work with and help them to develop and to blossom. If we don't have that, then it's going to be a start with me. And if everyone,
could I interject there, Ben? To that point, I think it's a great point. If you're wearing the CEO hat of your company, and I think I've mentioned this before, what I've mentioned again, you are not your business. You should give your business a name. You should make certain that you do that this week if you haven't done it, so that you don't look at yourself as the business. You're just the CEO of that company, and you're building a company, and that company ought to have a name. In Latin America, every leader has given their company a name, and they talk about the members of that team Oreca or team whatever it is that they call that company. I think it's really important because identification is critical. As we identify with this idea, then you'll start to see your behavior and what your company needs is two different things. And so if you're looking at building a company, ask yourself the question, who do I want to recruit into my company? I think that's a really important question, because if you're building a company with the future of the company in mind, then who are the people you're going to bring into this company? What do they look like? What do they think about? What are their ambitions and so forth? Are you going to bring people who you just want to hang out with, in which case your company is really a social club? Or are you going to bring people who are going to be active in promoting the message of Nikken to the next generation to ensure the survival and viability of the business and your company's sake for generations to come? What is the habit you're in terms of who you're looking for? How do you identify with that? So separate yourself from your business and ask yourself, what does my business need for the next 5 years? Who should I be looking for to grow the business over the next 5 years? If not me, who? And then start looking for those people.
Yeah, excellent. Bernadette, can I ask you to unmute yourself and share some thoughts here? I know you've just recently had some people in your team that have rank advanced as well, and what are your thoughts on all of this?
I agree. I mean, everything that both of you have said. First of all, it's so exciting to see and feel that buzz. How can you not be excited when you get that all the time? And sharing that is important. And the vision 2018 is just on our door, literally. So I really believe one thing that you said, Ben, it's really taking. We're focusing on recruiting versus the product side of it, because that's important. Which is why the event that I've planned for San Francisco and it's going to be announced. Actually, this great thing being announced on the kickoff call. But I promote it as a prospecting and recruiting event. That's what this is about. The goal is to have. I said to my team, that's the goal. The objective gave ourselves. Between now and April, when the event happens, the goal is to have 80% new people in the room.
Yeah.
I said to everybody, I love you guys, I love all the consultants, but that's not about us getting together. It's about, and which means it's whether it's brand new prospect, brand new people joining, new ranks. It's about having new ranks. It's the new face of Nikken that I want to see in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And that is that's really what it is. So I think when we go with that intention, we approach things in a very different way. And it's about really being more creative. I love what Mike, you initiated a few months ago when we talked about launching North America with using the Latino campaign. I think this is fabulous. But I have one thing is, a number of you may or may not know, but I have a Filipino group in my team. I say, this is the same strategy we're going to apply. So literally we are in the next few days, we're doing some videos in Filipino, in Tagalog, and we're going just to have that campaign. Yeah. I put out some statistics, and actually I'll send that to the launch partner of the population in US and North America, in US only. There's 52 million of Hispanic and Latino. So I say to people, how do you think, if you don't think this opportunity is big, you better reevaluate, right? And they're mainly, and then it shows as well geographically where they are. And then I pull the same numbers for Filipino. I say, okay, the numbers are not as big. There's only 3.4 million, but you think the opportunity is just as big. So I think it's important that we really look at it that way, but we could do the same with the Gen X. And so, so whatever we choose to look at, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I like that. And let me just perhaps enlarge on one point as well. When you said the focus moving into 2018 really needs to be around recruitment. And I think that shift, to get that balance strong, I think is important. I would change that word perhaps a little to either rank advancement or team development. Rank advancement perhaps is the terminology for the existing people. Team development would be perhaps the language for those that come in. Because what we don't want to do is go into a month thinking, I'm going to try to recruit someone today or this month, or I'm going to try and get a customer this month. If that's my mindset, we're thinking too small. We
don't have a plan. Yeah, we don't have a business plan.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah, we're doing stuff, the right stuff, but we're not doing it in the right way. And that would be my point there, kind of going back to the beginning of the call. We recruit people in order to see them rank advance. We don't recruit people for the sake of recruitment's sake. Yeah, we do it with that purpose. And so we need to have that mindset when people are rank advancing this month. When you look at what they're doing, they're bringing people in with a clear strategy to get them to executive straight away, to get them to silver straight away, moving people through the process as fast as they can. That is a deliberate agenda. They didn't just recruit a load of people and it fell into place. Yeah. So there is a difference between doing the right things and doing the right things with purpose or intent. Now, we could just put some paint on a piece of paper. It doesn't mean we're painting a masterpiece. Yeah.
Ben, I want to be a little bit selfish in this second here, and on the flights that I was on yesterday, I was reading from a book.
That looks like a good book, that one.
That is actually a really good book, in my opinion. It's called The Science of the Nikken Business. You can find it online, and I really want to encourage you guys to get this and start on DVD number 4. I was reading that section, which is sort of an encapsulation of the first 3 sections. And everything we're talking about here and the context of this is probably one of the best business trainings on Nikken, and more importantly, on the direction that we're going in 2018, that Ben and I are working on the deliverable on that right now. So if you want to kind of get a heads up on what it is that's coming and how to shape your mindset around your business, that chapter is really the keystone, in my opinion. So I want to encourage you guys to you can get a Kindle copy online or just a hard copy, and just pick up that last section, because it's pretty. I was reminding of myself. I teach this all the time, but to hear it sort of, this is an encapsulation of a video that I did. It really targets.
Remind us again.
It's DVD number 4. It's the last section of the book. It's DVD number 4. It's called Getting Started, Building a Strong Foundation. And in my copy, it's page 271. I'm not sure what version you might have, but this is really an encapsulation, soup to nuts, of how you start with the end in mind, purpose. Yeah. And it comes back to vision and the context from which we're recruiting. We're building an organization, a company that creates wellness homes, that has an outward manifestation. It's not about building an organization for the sake of being the head of a cult. We're building an organization that has a purpose, has a function in the world, hence the need to build that organization.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. So I think that's a great point to end on, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for what you're doing. Let's take stock. We're in December, the last month of the year. Let's do some reevaluation. Let's look at what we've done, but let's also look at what we're going to do in 2018. Let's see if we're doing the right things with purpose. Again, we can tick off the certain activities, but we don't just, like we said, do these things for the sake of doing them. Yeah, we've got to think larger than that. So thank you all very much. And if any of you need, by the way, any assistance in the process of putting your strategies and plans together for 2018, if you want to have some reviews and have us look over and say, give us some constructive feedbacks, let me see if I'm on the right track here. We don't want you feeling like you're working in the dark. Yeah, it's you want to feel confident in your plan and in your strategy. And you've got leaders here that have got years of experience of doing that, both within Nikken and commercially. We know how to put plans together and strategies together and make them work. So utilize the team that you've got to help you. So with that being said, have a great weekend, and we'll speak to you next week, if not sooner. Take care, everyone.